The wise man just walked out on his own empire. Paul Heyman, the man who built kingdoms with his words, the architect behind Roman Reigns' historic 1,316-day reign as champion, just stood in the center of that ring at Madison Square Garden and said no to Solo Sikoa. And you know what happened next? They destroyed him. They absolutely obliterated the one man who gave the bloodline everything. This is not just a betrayal, this is the end of an era, and what you're about to witness will send shockwaves through the entire wrestling world. You can feel the electricity in that arena, 17,000 fans packed into the world's most famous arena, and they have no idea they're about to witness one of the most brutal, most emotional moments in WWE history. Paul Heyman, the Hall of Famer, the legend, the man who has survived every storm in this business for over 3 decades, is about to face his darkest hour. Let me paint you the picture of what went down. Solo Sikoa, the self-proclaimed tribal chief, stands in that ring with Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and the absolute monster Jacob Fatu. They've got the sacred Ula Fala, the royal Samoan necklace that represents everything Roman Reigns built. This isn't just jewelry, this is a symbol of power, of legacy, of family. And Solo wants Paul Heyman to acknowledge him as the new leader. But here's where it gets emotional. Here's where your heart starts pounding because you know what's coming. Heyman, this man who has betrayed partners before, who has switched allegiances when it benefited him, who has been called a snake, a manipulator, a survivor at all costs, he's standing there shaking. Not from fear, though there's plenty of that. He's shaking because he's about to make a choice that will define him. The camera zooms in on Heyman's face and you can see tears forming in his eyes. This is raw, this is real emotion pouring out of a man who rarely shows vulnerability. Tonga Loa produces that bag, slowly opens it, and there it is, the Ula Fala gleaming under those bright lights. The crowd knows what this represents. They start getting louder, restless, because they sense what's about to happen. Solo stands there, arms crossed, staring down at Heyman with those cold, calculating eyes. He's not asking anymore, he's demanding. Acknowledge me, he says, his voice echoing through Madison Square Garden. The bloodline members line up, one by one they've bent the knee to Solo. Tama Tonga, check. Tonga Loa, check. Even Jacob Fatu, the newest recruit, the Samoan werewolf who's been tearing through everyone, he's acknowledged Solo. Now it's Heyman's turn. The man who stood beside Roman Reigns through every battle, every title defense, every moment of glory and every moment of doubt. The wise man, the special counsel. The one constant in the bloodline's meteoric rise to dominance. And Paul Heyman looks at that Ula Fala, looks at Solo Sikoa, looks at these men surrounding him, and you can see the war happening inside his mind. Every instinct he has as a survivor, every lesson he learned from decades in this cutthroat business tells him to do it, to acknowledge Solo, to save himself. But there's something else there, something we've never really seen from Paul Heyman before. Loyalty. The crowd is on their feet now, you can hear them chanting Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. They know their tribal chief is gone, haven't seen him since WrestleMania where he lost everything to Cody Rhodes. But they're rallying behind his memory, behind what the bloodline used to represent when it was built on family, on respect, on brotherhood. Heyman's lips start to move. He's trying to speak but the words won't come out. His hands are trembling. Solo leans in closer, more aggressive, more threatening. The tension in that building, you could cut it with a knife. Every single person watching knows that if Heyman refuses, there's going to be consequences, and they're going to be severe. I can't, Heyman whispers. 2 words that seal his fate. I can't acknowledge you, Solo. I can't betray Roman Reigns. The garden erupts. Fans are screaming, jumping, crying because they just witnessed Paul Heyman, the ultimate opportunist, choose honor over survival. But their celebration is short-lived because Solo Sikoa's face twists into pure rage. Before Heyman can even react, before he can protect himself, boom, Samoan spike. Solo's hand drives straight into Heyman's throat and the 60-year-old Hall of Famer crumbles to the mat like a puppet with its strings cut. He's gasping for air, clutching his throat, rolling around in agony, and the assault has only just begun. The camera captures every agonizing second as Heyman rides on that canvas. You can see the pain etched across his face, hear him struggling to breathe. The commentators are going crazy, screaming about how this has gone too far, but nobody's coming to help. Where's Cody Rhodes? Where's Randy Orton? Where's Kevin Owens? They've already been ejected from the building earlier in the night. Paul Heyman is completely alone. Solo stands over him, no remorse, no hesitation, and signals to Jacob Fatu. The camera cuts to Fatu as he climbs to the top rope, his massive frame perched on that turnbuckle, and the entire arena knows what's coming. This is the same man who's been destroying opponents left and right since his debut weeks earlier. The Samoan werewolf, unhinged, unpredictable, absolutely lethal. Heyman tries to crawl away but there's nowhere to go. He's trapped in that ring with 3 men who have turned the bloodline from a family into something dark and twisted. The crowd is chanting no, 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 but it doesn't matter. Jacob Fatu leaps. The flying headbutt connects with devastating precision, drilling straight into Heyman's skull. The impact echoes through the building, and Heyman's body goes completely limp. He's not moving. The medical staff at ringside looks terrified. Fans in the front row have their hands over their mouths in shock. But they're not done. Oh no, they're far from done. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa grab Heyman's lifeless body, dragging him out of the ring like a piece of garbage. His expensive suit is torn, his face is bruised and bloodied, and he's barely conscious as they position him on the outside. Solo Sikoa walks down the steps with that ulafala still in hand, and directs traffic like a general commanding his troops. They set Heyman up right in front of the announce table. Michael Cole and Corey Graves scramble to get out of the way, knowing exactly what's about to happen. The crowd is chanting, "This is awful. This is awful." Some fans can't even watch. Tama Tonga hooks one arm. Tonga Loa hooks the other. Jacob Fatu stands behind them, and on Solo's command, they lift Paul Heyman into the air. For a moment he's suspended above that announce table, and you can see him mouth something, maybe a prayer, maybe Roman's name, we'll never know. They drop him. The triple powerbomb crashes Heyman through the announce table with such force that the entire structure collapses. Wood splinters everywhere, monitors explode, sparks fly from damaged equipment. The sound of the impact reverberates through Madison Square Garden like a gunshot, and then there's just silence. An eerie, haunting silence. The camera zooms in on Heyman's broken body lying in the wreckage. He's not moving. His eyes are closed. There's blood visible on his face, his shirt is completely destroyed, and debris covers his torso. WWE officials rush out, paramedics sprint down the ramp with a stretcher, but they have to wait because the bloodline is still standing there, admiring their handiwork. Solo Sikoa raises the ulafala high above his head, standing over Heyman's unconscious form like a conqueror. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa flank him on either side. Jacob Fatu stands in the background, that crazy look in his eyes, and they pose as SmackDown goes off the air with Paul Heyman's career potentially ended. This is where legends are made and destroyed. This is the moment that changes everything. If you're feeling this emotion right now, if your heart is racing, if you can't believe what you just witnessed, smash the like button right now. Subscribe to SLAMZONE because we're going to break down every single implication of this attack. Hit that notification bell because the fallout from this is going to be massive and you don't want to miss a second of our coverage. We're building something special here, a community of wrestling fans who live for these moments, and I need you to be part of that family. Let's grow together, let's experience this journey together. The digital exclusive footage shows what happened after the cameras stopped rolling, and it's even more heartbreaking. Paramedics carefully load Heyman onto a stretcher, his neck braced, his body completely still. SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis is there, visibly shaken, coordinating with medical personnel. Corey Graves spots the bloodline lurking near the entrance, still menacing, still threatening, and he demands security hold them back. They finally get Heyman out of the arena and into the backstage area. The camera follows every step as they wheel him toward the ambulance. WWE producer Jamie Noble climbs in with him, and there's this moment, this brief heartbreaking moment where Heyman's eyes flutter open. He stares up at the sky, completely disoriented, totally lost, and you can see the confusion and pain written across his face before they close the ambulance doors. The questions racing through everyone's mind are overwhelming. Is Paul Heyman's career over? Will he ever recover from this brutal assault? And most importantly, where is Roman Reigns? The tribal chief has been gone since losing the undisputed Universal Championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. His 1,316-day reign ended, and he vanished. No appearances, no promos, nothing. Solo Sikoa took advantage of that absence, reshaped the bloodline in his own violent image, kicked out Jimmy USO, brought in Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu, and declared himself the new tribal chief. But Paul Heyman, the one man who knew all of Roman's secrets, who helped strategize every move, who was there from the beginning of this historic run, he refused to accept Solo's authority. And it cost him everything. The symbolism here runs so deep. That ulafala represents the Anoa'i family legacy, generations of Samoan wrestling royalty. Roman Reigns carried that mantle with pride, with honor, with respect for his ancestors. Solo Sikoa is demanding that same reverence but through fear and violence. He's not earning it, he's taking it by force. And Heyman's refusal, his tearful, emotional refusal to betray Roman, it speaks to something we thought we'd never see from him. Growth. Character development. An actual human being beneath the manipulative manager persona. For 3 years we watched him guide the bloodline to unprecedented success. We saw him help Roman become the longest reigning Universal Champion in history. We witnessed the bond between them grow stronger with every defense, every victory, every moment they stood together as Og bloodline dominated WWE. That relationship meant something. It wasn't just business. It wasn't just another Paul Heyman client. This was different. Roman and Paul had mutual respect, genuine affection even, and when forced to choose between survival and loyalty, Heyman chose loyalty. The wrestling world is still processing the aftermath. Social media exploded with reactions. Fans are calling it one of the most brutal beatdowns in WWE history. Some are demanding Roman Reigns return immediately to avenge his Wiseman. Others are speculating about what this means for the Bloodline's future. Think about the storytelling genius here. Solo Sikoa systematically dismantled everything Roman built. First he kicked out Jimmy USO for showing independence. Then he recruited his own loyal soldiers in Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. He brought in the uncontrollable Jacob Fatu as his enforcer. And finally, he eliminated the brains of the operation, the strategic mastermind who made the Bloodline's dominance possible. Without Paul Heyman, without that guidance and cunning strategy, what is Solo's Bloodline really? Just brute force and violence. There's no sophistication, no long-term planning, no wisdom. Solo is trying to rule through intimidation alone, and while it might work short-term, it's not sustainable. Roman understood that you need more than muscle to stay on top. You need intelligence. You need Heyman. The ramifications extend beyond just Paul and Solo. Where does this leave the entire Bloodline storyline? GUSO is on Raw, establishing himself as a singles competitor. Jimmy USO is trying to find his way back. Sami Zayn, the honorary US, is doing his own thing. And now Heyman, the glue that held so much of this together, is gone. What happens when Roman Reigns finally returns? And he will return, make no mistake about that. When the original tribal chief comes back and sees what Solo has done, sees the carnage left in his absence, sees Paul Heyman broken and battered for refusing to abandon him, the retribution is going to be biblical. We're talking about a reckoning unlike anything WWE has seen. This moment at Madison Square Garden will be remembered as the point of no return. Solo Sikoa crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. You don't attack Paul Heyman like that and expect no consequences. You don't destroy a WWE Hall of Famer, a legend who's been part of this business for 35 years, and think it's just going to blow over. The emotional weight of seeing Heyman choose loyalty over self-preservation resonates because it's so unexpected yet so perfect. His entire career has been built on aligning himself with power, switching sides when necessary, doing whatever it takes to stay relevant and employed. But when it mattered most, when his very survival was on the line, he stood by Roman Reigns even though Roman wasn't there to protect him. That's the kind of storytelling that makes professional wrestling special. That's why millions of fans around the world invest emotionally in these characters and these stories. Because underneath the predetermined outcomes and scripted promos, there are real human emotions, genuine bonds, and consequences that feel authentic. If you made it this far, if you're as emotionally invested as I am, do me a favor. Comment below and tell me what you think happens next. Does Roman return at SummerSlam? Does Heyman come back for revenge? Will the Bloodline ever be the same? Share this video with every wrestling fan you know because they need to understand the magnitude of what just happened. And subscribe to SLAMZONE because we're going to follow this story every step of the way until it reaches its inevitable, explosive conclusion. Paul Heyman left Madison Square Garden in an ambulance, broken but unbowed. He made his choice. He drew his line in the sand. And Solo Sikoa just declared war on the entire legacy of the Bloodline. This is far from over. This is only the beginning of something that's going to change WWE forever. The Wiseman fell, but his sacrifice will ignite a fire that burns down everything Solo Sikoa built. What a moment. What an unforgettable, devastating, powerful moment in wrestling history.